Okay, so now what we're going to do is take our midpoint and we're going to apply it to a coordinate plane. So here we have a picture of lots of different lines and segments and rays. We want to find the midpoint of DE, which is right here. Now, I went ahead and put the midpoint formulas right over here, and I wrote it in a couple different ways. First off, that's just kind of the simpler way. And then I separated it because that equals xm and that equals ym. So you can write it either way. So I'm going to find the midpoint of DE. Before I find the midpoint, though, I need to know the coordinates I'm working with. So I've got to find the coordinate for D, which is right here. And my x is always the first letter, and you can see the x-axis is right here. So I'm going to look and find the spot where if I drop straight down, I'm going to hit D, which it looks like it's at -5. So that coordinate is -5, and then our y-coordinate is the other thing that we need. So I'm going to look up and down, and I'm going to find which one of these goes straight to D, which it looks like it's -6. So that's my first coordinate for D. Now I'm going to also find the coordinate for E, and I'm going to do that in green, make it a little bit easier to see. And once again, I'm going to start with my x. I'm going to go over to the x until I can see that it's dropped down. And it looks like it's at 1.5, 1.5. So that's going to be a lot of fun to deal with decimals. So 1.5. And it's a negative, so I got to make sure I put a -1.5 as my coordinate for the x. And then we're going to try and find our y. I'm going to drop down, see where E hits the y-axis, and it looks like it's going to be at -2.5. So I'm going to write -2.5 as my y-coordinate for E. Now I'm going to plug these points into my midpoint. So I'm going to mark these as x1, y1, and x2, y2. And then I just plug it right in. So I'm going to use this one. I'm going to plug x1 as -5, so I'm going to say -5 plus, and -1.5. So -5 plus -1.5 divided by 2. Don't forget that. And that is going to be my x midpoint. And then I'm going to do my y midpoint. I'll do it over here. Same thing. I'm going to do my y1, which is -6, plus y2, which is -2.5. divided by 2. And that's going to give me my y midpoint. Then we solve. -5 plus -1.5. It should be -6.5. Make my 6 a little better there. Divided by 2. That's going to be my x midpoint. Then for my y, I've got -6 plus -2.5. So -6 plus -2.5 is going to be a -8.5 divided by 2. That's going to be my y midpoint. Now if I calculate that, I will get -3.25 for my x midpoint. And for my y, I'm going to get -4.25. So the final way that I can write my answer is like this. So this is how I would write my final answer. -3.25, -4.25 equals the midpoint, the x midpoint and the y midpoint.